We are going to talk about a good movie for once. Finally, a good movie. I know, fucking catching up to movies, and it's like, of course, this dumbass is going to talk about something horrible, not something good. But anyway, so talk about Stop Motion. It's a indie horror film, and I think what was it like on Letterboxd? Someone said, "Oh, thank you, one for the freaks" or something. It's one of those horror movies that, like, you can't. It's not for the casual like horror fan. It's so weird to say casual horror fan. Um, but obviously, I'll go into spoilers a little bit later. But I really liked it. It's about a stop motion. It's about someone who does stop motion, and then just like things getting really weird. The stop motion in the movie, they actually have stop motion, so they don't just kind of like use a name and then you're like, where is it? But the stop motion in the movie is really good. The God, I forgot the name of it. I went to art school. The I guess armatured figures. Those were done like, well, I mean, they get weird, but like the initial ones are like, oh yeah, I remember seeing that when I was in school. But yeah, anyway, so I would suggest this if you're into like the weird shit, if you're into like the weird horror. Like, how would I describe this? Like, as like another movie that's like also weird that you enjoy. I mean, I guess if like you could like sit through something like Titan that's like so weird, if you like Mandy, if you like it gets psychological at times. It's shot really well. It gets kind of trippy, it's not really spoilers, it's just like it gets weird. And that's why it's like it's for the freaks kind of thing. I mean, it gets weird, and I was all for it. I was in for that ride the entire time. I was like, oh shit, all right, okay, yeah, let's fucking do it. you know I'm glad this movie, like, because it's independent, so there wasn't a lot of like being held back with the weirdness, because this was like given a larger budget and maybe not James Wan, so let's put him over there. But if this was like a larger budget horror, they'd be like, but we've gotta cut it to make it acceptable for the masses to watch this bitch lose her fucking mind. It's like, no, 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 you know? Yeah, so I guess I'll go into spoilers because there's really not much else I can say about it except for go watch it. It's independent. Go watch it. Independent horror is obviously a lot better than a lot of the mainstream stuff, where all they keep fucking doing is remakes and re-fucking things. They won't let franchises die. Let the franchises die. Oh my god, let the franchises die. But they're not gonna die. They're gonna keep coming back. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, spoilers. So, like I said, so this movie is about, it's a woman who is a stop motion animator, but she's old, she's got arthritis, she can't really like move the things like, 2 fucking millimeters to the left, so like, the puppet could just kind of like, do the thing. So she has her daughter do it, and she is like, just like a bitch. She'll be like, move it slightly over, and then the girl's like, she'll move it a little. She's like, no, too much. Ah! Like, you're just like, oh my god, like, chill. Again, I went to art school, so and I knew a few stop motion animators. They were all pretty chill. Funny enough, I noticed it's a very largely like mostly it's like women, I noticed, that are in stop motion animation. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this, although this main character is a woman. But anyway, so she's making this thing. Her mom ends up falling ill. I think she has a stroke. And then she's just like, well, as much as, my mother's an asshole, let me finish her film, She like, it's so weird that she wasn't like, okay, so my mom's in the hospital, but we have this home, let me just finish it. Instead, she's like, I'm gonna rent a studio apartment and like this be my new home and finish it. I don't know. Like, maybe the economy's different over there than it is over here. I don't know, man. Like, when shit went real over here, I didn't just like suddenly just like rent a place not here to handle things. I don't know. Anyway, I know it's a movie and all that stuff, but like things like that always makes me go like, really? I get it. Fine. Anyway, so she rents like, an apartment. She sets the shit back up. She starts, click, click, clack, animating again. Then some like little girl shows up, and immediately I was like, nope, this is horror. That is a child. Nope. Anytime there are kids involved in horror movies, they are either the thing that causes the problem, they are either the evil, they are either what causes your death because you're like, but there's a child and I have to save it. It's like you gotta watch the child and no! Um, or like either way it's like the kid is just the problem. So immediately I was like, nope, nope. But she's interacting with the kid and I was like, why did you do that? This child's gonna be your demise. And the kid is just being like a kid and being all nosy, like, hey, like, she has like her doorbell. She's like, hey, what's that, what's going on, what's that? She's like, oh, I'm making this thing. And then she's like, this is boring, like about her mom's spell. She's like, yeah, this is boring. And then she's like, I've got like a better story because I'm a kid and so I have an imagination, so I'm better. And it's funny because then like the main character, she has like a thing of like mortician's wax and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, I have that in my kit. I haven't used my mortician's wax in a while since I've been able to afford silicone to make my prosthetics, but I still have that stuff. It's really good like out of kit stuff if you want to do like bites and bumps and boils, like really quick, like you just like scrape it up on someone, paint it up, go, really cool shit. I do like that in this movie because how Mortician's Wax is. I like how when they did end up sculpting whatever bits and bobs and stuff, it did show that the wax was like covered in like fuzz, like if you like dropped it on the floor. I'm glad they had that because if it would have been smooth and perfect, I would have been like, no. Especially with like the puppet being like on the carpet and shit, like it's like, no, that shit gets like, you get shit in there real quick. That's why like I don't like, people are always like, what's this? Look at my Mortician's Wax. I'm like, don't fucking touch it. You're getting your shit all over it. Anyway, so anyway, affects things. So anyway, so she decides, fuck it, she's not gonna finish her mom's movie and she's gonna do this little kid story, which I'm just like, I guess because of like the whole change of like her mom not being there and all that stuff, I don't know, like she was just like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna like do this kid story. It seems interesting. It's like there's a kid and then there's an ash man and all that stuff. And it's so weird because like ever since she met the kid, she'll go and like start to make things and start to, animate it and all that stuff. But then she'll have like these weird like hallucinations and like things will happen and you're just like, what is going on? And then like then she'll like awaken the next day and like look at her laptop, and it would just be like what? I just like whatever like her crazy fever dream would be. She's like, wait, I animated that? And it would just be like the first like scene where it's just like, I'm going da, 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 crazy, and you're just like, okay. So you just like black out and animate. I mean, I feel like a lot of people wish they could just like, black out, just get the work done, and then they're like, oh, they wake up and they're like, look, it's done. I mean, times where I'm like making props or like if I have to like make or sew something elaborate, I'm just like, oh god, I don't want to do this. I'm gonna take a nap and hopefully when I wake up it's done. Like I'm obviously not. So like this keeps happening. It happens a couple of times. And every time it happens, like the little girl is around, says something, adds a little more to the story, and then the girl like starts like, like being a little weird, and then she wakes up, and then another scene is animated kind of stuff. There's one part like she has a boyfriend. There's one part where like, I think it's like his boyfriend's sister. I think that's the relation. But there's this other girl. I think so, yeah. And they go to, like, she's like, all right, let me take some time, like, away from doing all this. And she visit her mom and all that stuff. They go to a party, and then the girl gives her, like, Molly or something. And, she's all like, boo, and all of a sudden, like, that's when, like, the movie gets, like, fun, because then it was, like, they did all the fun colors, and all of a sudden, it's like, it's that scene where you're just like, oh, you're like, I'm in it, oh, yeah, I'm tripping like crazy, and it's like, then it's, like, the lighted color silhouette, and then it's, like, all sexy, and then she's, like, fucking her boyfriend, but it's not, like, gratuitous, it was just kind of, like, it's kind of shot beautifully, like not like as beautiful as like in Hannibal when they like in the Hannibal TV series when they shot those. I mean, those were also for like NBC, so they couldn't really show anything. But you know what I mean? It was just kind of like, hey, all right, that's what fucking, you know, while tripping looks like. All right, I guess, you know. And then it's like, she like wakes up the next day and she's like under her animating table, and her boyfriend's like, "Yo, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And then she's like, pulls like out of her pocket the Ziploc bag and throws it. She didn't even take the Molly. So like all that was just her, you know? And when that was happening, and mind you, probably about like the second or third time she encountered the little girl, I immediately was like, that girl's not alive. Like, that girl is either a ghost in that building, you know, and she's just being like haunted by the child, you know, and getting these ideas to like make this story, make like manifest some evil coming out. Um, Either way, I was like, that kid's not real, because you never see anyone else interact with the kid but her. You know, she's always like around, like just like, oh, like, wow, you just got here at this time or whatever. You know, at one point you realize she, like, you do get kind of told she's not real, because like the girl, the main character, and her boyfriend are at like a cafe or something, and the guy's like, girl, you good? You know, and then she's just like, yeah, I think I'll be fine. Da, da, da. And then, because the little girl always has like a juice box with her, and she's like, like loud slurping, and then you see the girl kind of like look over, and like the little kid is like, you know, at a table, and you kind of know, you're like, yeah, like there's no way that kid like followed her all the way there, because how did she not notice her until now? So you knew that was like, it was in her mind the entire time, which again, you could see it coming, but it's not one of those like, oh, like kind of things. Like, I've said this in other reviews before, where there are times where you can tell where a story is going, and it that doesn't kill, like, you know, the vibe of the movie, doesn't kill like your watch, you know, your experience with watching the movie. It's just that like like, not to sound cheesy, but it's like the journey to the conclusion that you already kind of know and stuff. So yeah, the entire time she was not tripping, she was just, you know, mental. And she wakes up, like I said, the boyfriend is like, hey, whatever you just said, like, you just, like, you animated something last night. She's like, what? And then that was me scratching my nose. That wasn't her going, what? You know? And so she presses play, and it's like more of like this Ashman monster being like, whoa! Like, it's good. The animation is so good. Like, oh my god. It's like those times in like Robot Chicken when they like go ham with the animation. Like, their Voltron one is the best, where they had like the Voltron, like, the way how they had the legs move so smoothly with like the breakdancing. That was like one of the best like stop motion animations for Robot Chicken. But anyway, it's like that, where you're just like, this is really good. So the boyfriend's like, all right, maybe like you need to chill with this. Maybe we like can't. So the sister, whatever friend that gave her the Molly that obviously she didn't take, she's like, hey, you know, let me get you a job. Like, have her like do something like. That's another thing. It's like, she doesn't have a job this entire time, and how the hell does she like rent like a studio apartment while her mom is like in the hospital? Then again, they do have like national health care there, but they see, this is what happens when you're freaking like a mirror brain, you know? You think about things like this, you're like, well, I can't afford health care. How can you afford that and an apartment and sit around and hallucinate and animate while you do this stuff? Anyway, so she gets offered like some sort of like job in an animation studio, and she thought she was going to be there to animate. And then this dude who also works here is like, no, you're just gonna make eyes. He's like, here, he's like, we want the whites of the eyeballs to be X centimeters, and then the pupils be X centimeters. So she's just there like rolling up balls. I just thought it was funny that she was just like with one hand just rolling them up like this, and then sticking the pupil on, and she just kept doing this. I don't know, maybe that's just something that actual stop motion animators do, but like when I got the clay stuff, I'm just like, all right, let's do it. It's just you know. Again, that's just me, and I also mainly sculpt fetuses, so you know what? Let's just not use me as an example for things, you know. So, you know, so of course she's kind of a little tight, because she's like, what the fuck? I thought I was gonna animate, but now I'm just making fucking eyeballs. Like, the fuck. And then she, like, at one point she's like, hey guys, I thought, like, what the hell? She sees like what the sister blonde, whatever, you know, is animating. She goes, wait a second. Like, it notices like, this looks like her film. Like, what the fuck? And then this bitch goes, she's like, she's like, yeah, but like, she straight up was like, yeah, I know I plagiarized off of you, but like, I zhuzhed it up to make it better, so it's not yours. Like, oh my, I was like, oh shit, you know. I don't think I saw that when I was in art school, but then again, I was not in stop motion. I only saw the stop motion stuff because I was in a special effects class, so we were kind of like around where those people set up their stages and shit. Because in special effects, I was like one of the few like illustrator who were there. Everyone else is like film, stop motion, obviously. And I'm just there like, I paint and make scenes, but then I also want to make people look gross, But things are different. So, yeah. So that girl was like such a bitch about it. But then anyway, I like at one point that bitch is losing her mind. Oh yeah, like she has like these hallucinations where she's scratching at her leg and her leg seems to be like wax, like again the mortician's wax, and then like some other shit happened. And then oh yeah, like she ended up getting like brought to like a hospital or something because like she ended up having a big cut on her leg. They stitched it up. Like they were just like, yo, you're fucked up, and she's like, nah, I'm good. And it's like, no, bitch, you're not good. And as someone who was watching the movie, I was like, this bitch is so fucked, like beyond fucked. Like the fact that you had like an acid trip. God, you were fucked, and you didn't even take the drugs. I sound like a narc. Did you take the drugs? I would like to order one methamphetamine, please. Like the fuck. Oh my god, your fucking speakers suck in your car. My whole fucking window and fucking shit is like. Blah, blah. I want everyone to hear my shitty music taste. So she gets back. She's talking to a little girl, and they're like, we need to finish this movie. And the little girl's like, yeah, I want the Ash Man to come and touch her. And you're like, oh, God. And then, like, the main character girl's like, no, I don't want that to happen. And the little girl's like, you're gonna make this happen. And then, so, obviously, the little girl's not there. The main character starts, like, ripping her stitches off, and then, like, pulling her wound open. And this is where I was like, this is the part where it's for us freaks, as I was watching it. And I was like, oh... No, man. As someone who's had, like, surgery in places, I was like, oh, I kept like, the leg and the flavin, And then she's like, the brother and bitch come in, and she's like ripping out like a piece, like some sinew, like rips it out, and they're like, what are you doing? What the fuck? They're like, we gotta take you back to the hospital. What the fuck? They try to like rebandage her leg. They both like she kind of got all like woozy, obviously, because she like pulled open her leg wound. It's like blood, and she's like something out, because that's a normal thing someone does who's completely cognizant, And so the two of them try to drag her ass out, but then she like gains consciousness and starts kicking and flailing. So kicks the blonde, and and then she like falls down, and then pushes the boyfriend down the stairs. Blah blah blah. He's dead. Well, he's just kind of knocked unconscious for now. So then she grabs her like one of those big hunk of chunk tripods that a lot of people have, like those almost like $200 to $300 like thick legged ones. Like I have like cheap $20 tripods, because I don't really tripod it up as often as I keep complaining about this tripod I use that was only like $10. I keep being like, I need to get a new one, and I just don't end up getting one, mainly because they don't have ones that I like anyway. But like she's got one of those like the thick leg ones that look like, and she's like busting the girl's face with it, and at one point she like sticks the leg in her neck and just like pushes down, and I was just like, okay, damn. Like I know it's like she pissed you off by like stealing your idea for your film, but damn, like a swift backhand would have just solved it, She's like, And then she like drags her back into like her apartment. Then her boyfriend, she goes like this, like puts her hand over his mouth and closes his nose, and he's like, so he's dead. She like pulls his body into the apartment, and then starts like cutting them, and then creating like with their bodies and flesh, creating like life-size figures of the animation figures that she made. Again, It's a movie for the freaks. Like, again, I was with this. I was with this movie the entire time. I was with this. Like I said, it's a good movie. And then, just like crazy shit, just like, it's just like so insane. That she started doing that. I was like, all right, but at that point, I was like, fine, fine, fine. And so then, obviously, like she ends up dying because she bleeds to death. But then, like, she passes out and then wakes up and sees like the little girl is at the computer, and then it just like she realizes she's like in the woods, goes into a cabin that looks like what she built. She's dead. We all know that. Sees the little girl like on that girl's like animation computer. She's all like this, and then the main girl like looks at the computer, sees like herself like like on the floor, like, oh well, all that stuff, and then she's just like, this is a great story, like everything is fine and none of that shit was weird, and then it's like the movie ends, and I was just like, all right, all right. That was great, God, it's a good movie, man. This movie is so good. It's like how like Lisa Frankenstein is a cute movie and I enjoyed it, for my own stupidity. I like gave it pretty much the same rating, but then this one is just, that's like cutesy comedy horror, and this is like I said, for the freaks. Like this is my niche, like there's body horror, there's some psychological shit, you know what I mean? There's like, ooh, throwback to art school kind of feels, I like I said, I enjoyed this movie. It was a fun ride, and I hope there's just more of this, type of movie, keep going, because like we just can't keep having all these fucking remakes and redos and but anyway, my camera's about to overheat. And wow, I just realized this review is almost as long as the Madam Web one. Okay, but this one's a good one, guys. This one's a good one. I swear, it's really good. Ah.